Welcome to The Disruption Is Now. Join us on this enlightening journey as we explore how AI is impacting our jobs, careers, lives, and the human experience. Each episode, host Greg Matusky will converse with visionaries and innovators at the forefront of AI, diving into its challenges, opportunities, and impact. So buckle up as we venture into the heart of disruption, and together, let's unfold the future.
Well, welcome to another episode of The Disruption Is Now. I'm your host, Greg Matusky. It's the podcast where we talk about AI and how it's impacting everything in our lives, from our economy to how we communicate into our commerce. And I've had a lot of questions lately about where we are in the process. I got to tell you, that's been the number one question I've gotten from as I do talks around the country. And I'm not really sure where we're in the process. It's so disruptive and so chaotic that sometimes I just think, are we over the hype cycle and really in the deployment, or are we still meeting disruption? So I had someone contact me with an idea, and I thought it was pretty interesting. He's the author of a book called Pro Business Mindset. Tanvir Bhangoo runs his own firm called TBX Growth, where he works with companies who helps them find growth in chaotic and disruptive moments. And I heard that, and I said, never has there been a more chaotic or disruptive moment than right now, particularly in world economics, world politics, and everything like that. And besides that, he was a former football player out of Canada who actually played American football and not soccer. So I thought, hey, that's all the qualifications you need for me to be interested. So Tanvir, tell me a little bit. Did I get that right? Is that what you're working on now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for the awesome intro. Here's the $5 that I'll slip you on the side here. You did get all of that right, Greg. And you know, I think the biggest challenge that I'm seeing is that everything has always been disruptive for the past, I would say, the pandemic really disrupted industries. But the funny thing is, even before that, there was disruption, chaos. And I think the past 2 decades has always been disruptive. So I think it's all a matter of perspective. And my belief is that only thing constant is disruption. So how do you navigate disruption?
I agree with you, but I'm older than you, obviously. And I see the rate of disruption with AI to be a bit unprecedented in that how quickly it's moved. I'll give you an example. I have the great privilege of often interviewing machine learning experts. And I ask every one of them, PhDs and what have you, I say, what was the most surprising thing about ChatGPT? And they all say two things. One, that it could learn about the human experience through language. It never thought that was capable. And two, how quickly it's evolved and developed. In my own firm, right, when I see the capabilities it has today as opposed to November 2022 when I first saw it, although I will say that the first time I saw it, I thought, what good is a newborn baby? I thought, this is the first rendition. But that rate of change is something I don't know if I've ever seen. Talk about that. And as we go into this and we continue to achieve Moore's Law, which is the doubling of all technology for the same price every 2 years, I think I got that right. What does it mean to organizations, and how do you even plan?
Yeah, look, my belief, I might have a bit of a contrarian view on this, is that it seems very disruptive because people have now been paying attention to it, and everybody's hearing all about it. You get that critical mass, and I think it happened somewhere within the 6-12 months, before, and everybody talking about AI. But if right before we started the podcast, you mentioned that you've been studying it for 4 years. So for somebody who's been studying it for 4 years, they have enough of a timeline and enough time to prepare and think ahead that it is not very disruptive. It's just that companies don't want to pay attention to technologies until it's too late, and now they have to go and get up to speed on things. As you do that, you cause more chaos and disruption than you need to. So my philosophy on this is that if you look at the internet, if you look at digitization in the past decade and a half, if you look at the pandemic and AI, all of these things didn't happen overnight. What made it disruptive was a lot of executives that did not take it seriously until it was too late. And then you have the challenge of how do you get people to buy into these things? How do you manage the change? Because now you have a lot going on already and you're already behind the eight ball. So that's my philosophy on all these things.
And I think that's where we're at with a lot of this is how do you get people to buy into it? Originally, it was a lot of skepticism was behind it. A lot of people, for many reasons, were resistant. And I can go through the reasons. There's many, right? I think with AI, it was particularly unique in that a lot of people do not want to give up their role as experts. An attorney, for instance, does not want to give up her role as the final say on all things legal. And AI, right, it still makes mistakes, but it can give you insights into perhaps a commercial lease or perhaps a merger and acquisition agreement. And so I was faced with all that resistance. And I thought in the beginning, right, that I would have a 6-month lead on the field because I had been so immersed. I had immersed myself in this to such a degree, it almost became an obsession. I always tell the story, Sunday mornings on an April day, I'd be outside in the sunlight testing ChatGPT, seeing how much work I could get done for Monday morning, where I could break it, where I could abuse it, where I could use it, where I could use it to my advantage in some way. And what I see now is that there's the questions of it. Is it really high quality? Is it really accurate? I don't know where we stand, right? And so how do you manage this change? I'll give you one more example. I'm rambling a bit. I had an online dialogue with somebody on LinkedIn, a Berkeley professor, I think he was Berkeley, who railed about early adopters in AI and why you're going to fail, and because you're adopting an imperfect tool and it's not going to work the way you think it is. It's going to be full of hallucinations, inconsistencies, and now is not the time to invest in it, that you want to be a follower, you don't want to be an early adopter. And I countered that by saying, my experience is that just by knowing early what the risks and opportunities are, I'm much better grounded on making a decision now about how to go forward or what paths to take. So this question about adopting early, or as you said, too late, go into that a little bit and where you fall.
I believe, again, former athlete, coach would always say, make mistakes full speed. So I'm of the belief that you should definitely try things early, break them, because the worst thing that you can do is wait, try to collect all the data that you can. By that point, somebody's already beat you to it. And even if you go a little early and you make the wrong decision, at least you've got learnings and momentum that you can pivot, and you're going to end up much further ahead versus somebody who's going to wait till the last moment.
So then take it one step further. I interrupted you. Please. On the change management side, how do you get people to adopt these things and to use them when there's always a background fear that it's going to take my job?
Yeah, so I have two ideas on that, and things that I've done in the past in digital transformations, and I'm working on right now with some of my clients. And I'll start off with a story. Just before the pandemic, I was launching a brand new app for a public company, customer facing app, right? Hundreds of thousands of downloads. And I was looking for, and this is has a bunch of physical locations, so there's a lot of change that comes along with this, not this head office, but the stores, the employees, the customers. So for me, I had to launch in a very short period of time, and I needed people to buy into this, and I also needed people to actually be advocates of the app. So my first attempt failed, and what I did initially was I said, hey, would anybody like to test the app? We're going to launch this by X and X date. And I basically got a lot of resistance, all from even internal employees, that you're going to add more work to our plates, franchisees, or we already have so many things going on, and even, potential customers, that this stuff doesn't work as clunky because we were still testing. So I decided to create demand for the new app. And all I did was a simple mindset shift. I said, we have a new app coming up. We're only looking for a new tech committee of 5 people. Would you please sign up to be a part of this beta group? I got 20 to 25 people signed up the next day, just in the head office. And those people, and I actually put all of them on the committee. I wanted as many people as I could get. They became the early adopters. They became the ones that would go talk to the franchisees, talk internally, say, this is actually a pretty good idea. We need this. All because they wanted to feel a part of it versus being told what to do. So that was a big learning for me initially. So my belief, the way I would lead is trying to get people onboarded earlier and make them part of the journey. That's number one. It has to be critical. You don't want to wait and push things down. Second is you want to try and get folks to build internal demand as well. So what that means is a lot of companies right now are saying no ChatGPT policy. You can't use AI agents or co-pilots. Everything has to be approved, and they're basically shutting things down. If you would like to be ahead of the game, you actually want folks across different teams to try and test these things out and learn about them and use them and see the benefits of it organically while you build the strategy at the top. And you have to bring balance to those things together. So that's the second thing.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, my own firm, one of the tricks that we used was something very similar, in that we went out, we have a content staff. And these individuals, they write the PR, they write the content, they write the bylined articles, they write the press releases, they write the blog posts. And the leader of that, a very talented guy, had kind of hit the ceiling in that he had done what he does a million times before. So I went to him and I said, you're going to become my disciple, right? I have studied this now for 3 months, 4 months, and I think it's very powerful. And I think it represents an existential threat to you and to us, because this is what you do. And machines now can help us think and write better. So we need to learn this. But more than that, I need to transition your job, right? I need you now to have a wider playing field and help me figure this out. And then with excitement and learning behind it, share it with your team, who then become the seeds, right, that will grow into powerful trees within the firm. So I see your wisdom there.
So just one thing there on that point, sorry to interrupt you, Greg. I strongly believe that if you have to manage change in a business or get buy-in, you have failed as a leader. That means you're too late. The fact, I think you're a great example. The fact that you were already thinking ahead and giving this person the opportunity to grow and flourish and leverage the tools and making this person part of the journey, that is, you almost want to eliminate any need for buy-in. And that only works if the leader is culture first and people first in terms of style and approach. A lot of folks are strategy decks, PowerPoints, and then they worry with the people later. At that point, you need buy-in, and then you're already too late. So if you can get ahead of that by building a strong culture and caring about your people, you never run into this problem of change management or buy-in.
Well, I think, Tanvir, you're a young person. You learned this lesson early. It took me many years to learn that people were first. And with AI, one of the routes I took, and I think successfully, is instead of talking about what's in it for the company or clients, I spoke about what's in it for them, right? And that it does represent a threat. It does. And the only way you can future-proof your career is not by learning it, but by mastering it. And I want you to have a very viable career in the future. And I want you to become what I call a super creator. That's somebody that can do 3 times the work in an 8-hour day and is still not overly burdened and stressed. And in fact, they're lifted because they can be very productive and they're not faced with the same frictions that our industry, my industry, had always been faced with. We have an industry that is just constantly faced accepted frictions and inaccuracies, right? That's the name of the game. Oh, you missed the interview, so I still get credit. You did it. Well, no, you don't get credit if the CEO couldn't make the interview, right? You gotta get around. Or I wrote the piece, but you didn't like it. Well, you need to figure out then, and AI can help you, what the tone is, what the approach is, who the audience is. And if you can overcome those frictions while you're getting more quality work product down, I see self-esteem go up, right? They don't feel as if they're cheating. They feel as if they're delivering a higher quality product and moving up the food chain of their career and getting closer to getting a seat at the table because they become relied on. Because now, in marketing, for instance, instead of coming up with tasks, fulfilling tasks, here's an ad, they're doing whole campaigns, right? Instead of doing a news release, they're doing the entire strategy document, the news release. And oh, by the way, here's a script that I did for you so you can have a town hall meeting about the importance of this product launch. Those are the things that it enables you to do. And that's how you will bulletproof your career, because there'll never be a lack of demand for human communications.
Ever,
right?
ever.
I mean, every problem we see, you're Canadian, I'm American, there's friction and stress between the two countries today. This is a classic case of poor communications, right? This is just, one side saying things to offend another for unknown reasons. So there will always be the demand, but the difference will be in the supply side, that there'll be less people creating more human communications, and those that aren't producing it are the ones who simply know AI and haven't mastered it. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, so the funny thing is, Greg, you hit it on the head. We are talking about AI, but I think the critical, or the key success factor of future generations or even businesses is the soft human skills. So I would say communication, ability to speak in front of crowds, conflict management, and ability to know what's right and what's wrong, gut feelings even, I would say. And those things, unfortunately, are not taught in schools. And, I'm working today across companies, and I work with, different generations, right? From Gen Zs to millennials, even some of the older generations. And I'm seeing that there is this tendency, this is based on my perception, is we rather sit behind our screens and Slack people, with different passive aggressive tones or send emails instead of picking up the phone and resolving something within two seconds. For some reason, people rather send long threads. I mean, there's so many times where I've seen my teams or other teams fight for hours over a conflict on whether or not they should build some sort of a feature or a product that could have been resolved within a 20-second phone call or a 15-minute meeting with everybody, saving hours plus distress and lack of productivity. And so I'm worried about that on how that is shaping up. But at the same time, people that can master the soft skills are going to have a great career and be the change makers in the future, because that's what you need with AI.
Do you think the pandemic set a lot of people back in that realm?
I think it was a combination of pandemic, work from home, and again, I don't have any views on whether it's good or bad, but work from home, plus I think social media, all of that came together, and it makes it seem that it's okay to just text and not talk to people, not call people, not resolve conflicts, but instead resort to things that are in your hands and on, different communication tools. So I think it's a combination of those things. Again, that's just based on what I see. But nothing beats a good old, hey, let's talk about this. How do we move
Let,
forward?
let's take that to the playing field then, and how it is different in that I think Mike Tyson said social media is the place where you can say things without worrying that someone's gonna hit you, right? But on the playing field, there's a different set of rules, and I agree with you. I think they're very important rules, life rules. So tell me about some of your philosophy there.
So on the, my old book that I wrote a few years ago, Pro Business Mindset.
And you are working on a new one, but
I'm
it's top
working
secret.
a new one, but we're not going to announce that yet. We will
We're not
announce it
going
in
to
a few
announce
months.
it. You're saving that for Joe Rogan.
Yeah, let's see. So my old book, Pro Business Mindset, came out a few years ago, and when I had just moved from Canada to the U.S. in right after the pandemic, I had I had a bit of a gap where I couldn't really work in the U.S. because I didn't have a green card. I was waiting for my visa, but I always wanted to write a book, and people would always ask me, "Hey, how do you lead these transformations? How do you lead these teams?" And I was in my late 20s, working at a public company, in an executive role. And I thought, hey, maybe like anytime that people would ask me, especially students or other like friends, I would always say, hey, it's I'm not sure what I'm doing. It's just the stuff I learned on the football field. I was fortunate enough to play 5 years in Canada, won the national championship, right, and did try out for the pros, but didn't make it. And I think just by osmosis and just being there for 5 years, a lot of the principles that I grew up in those critical years, I've leveraged those in business. And some of the things are very simple things, like showing up to work, putting in the work, having good work ethic. Um, you know, the PRO in the book stands for playoffs, regular season, off season. And I'm a big believer that you win championships. My coach would say you win championships in the off season. So in business, anytime I take on a new team or advising somebody, slow down, build the playbooks, the teams, the foundations, so that you can speed up when things really matter. A lot of people don't do that, right? How do you execute? How do you block out the noise? How do you keep your headphones on? How do you celebrate the small wins? And when you have achieved whatever you're looking to achieve, how do you continue to move forward? It's okay to be proud, but never be satisfied. So it's just all of those simple, I would say, principles that I've applied in business.
I think that's wise advice for sure, Tanvir. The book, again, is Pro Business Mindset. You have something else brewing. I'll be excited to learn more about that. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more?
Absolutely. So today, again, as you mentioned in the beginning, Greg, I have my own advisory business. So TBX Growth, you can learn more about me on my website, tanvirbhangoo.com, or LinkedIn. Connect with me there. And, my niche is I help enterprise tech CEOs grow their business, go up market, or navigate disruption. So,
Well, terrific. That's where they can reach you. I want to thank you for being with us. It's a great discussion. And I've learned a lot that I can continue to apply as I try to change behavior and get more people into the, I call it the circle, the circle of volunteers, the circle of the willing, the circle of the willing, of those who are really willing to recreate my industry from a clean sheet of paper with the power of these tools that we've never had before. So thanks for being with us. And what position did you play real fast?
I was a nose tackle, the double teams. I was 300 pounds, and now I'm around 220.
Wow.
So lost quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. But one thing I like to say, Greg, is also that, kudos to you for taking the time to learn, about this and get ahead of some of these things. Not a lot of people are doing that. So I love what you're doing. And, thanks again for having me on the show.
Well, you got to stay curious. And for me, it's reinvigorated my career because I had worked in PR all my life. And when I saw ChatGPT, I say this all the time, it was the most joyful day in the world because my career, because I suddenly realized I could help other people become better communicators and spur human understanding. So for me, all the negativity melted away. And instead I thought, here's something I can certainly share with the world. So thanks
Amazing.
for the compliment and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is a production of Gregory FCA. If you enjoyed our discussion today and want to continue exploring the transformative power of AI, please check out more episodes and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.